Imagine a floating ball of clay that you can manipulate in any way you can imagine. Well, that exists, and it's in your computer. Add to it, take from it, carve it, and shape it in any way you like to create the perfect monster, person, skull, object to use in your artwork. The best thing about it being a 3D program as well is that you can also light it in exactly the way that you need to make it fit best into your competition. Competition composition. Today we're going to be talking about, after I'm done sneezing, we're going to be talking about Blender. Blender, the fantastic free piece of software that is, mind-blowing, as I've spoken about in the past videos, and works really well for both modeling, which is modeling, which is creating buildings, shapes, square shapes, buildings in particular, modeling items, and cars, things like that. Sculpting works really well for organic objects, things that flow more, things like the monsters, the skulls, the humanoid figures that we have discussed. And it being free, you can head to the link in the description and download it for free right now, which in fact I've just done with the new Blender here, Blender 4.4, which is the latest version. I've been using an old version. I had some version installed from like 3 years ago, 3.1 I think it was, so I just uninstalled it today. I've just now downloaded this version and we're going to install it together and see what happens. We're going to take a look today at some of the basics of sculpting. You see in the thumbnail of the video there is a creature that I created sculpting in Blender, and there's a few more on my Instagram page. You can see artworks that I've used Blender in. And today we're going to have just a mess around with the basic tools to show you how you can start to manipulate this floating ball of clay yourself and have a play around with it, because it's a fantastic piece of software, and I think sculpting is the most intuitive part of the program and the best place to jump off and have a little go, have a little play with it. So you can click the program icon to open it up here. 3.3 preferences. Let's import those from the last one that we had. If you had one before, I've imported those. I'm going to go to File, New, and up here, if you go to File and New, you'll see that it actually has a preset for sculpting, because this whole layout that you see here is to do with modeling, which is what the program was sort of originally built around. But if you open your new program and click sculpting, it will give you a bit of a different layout. You see the things at the top have changed, the tools down the side have changed, this tool set here, these are all of our sculpting tools which we will be using to manipulate this magnificent floating ball of clay. Now, you can, if you wish to, you can use, it's not going to show you that, is it, because it's not a human being. You can use your Wacom or tablet of choice for this, if you wish. It's very intuitive, works fantastically. It's just like sculpting a ball of clay, but you might not all have that. So today I'm going to use my mouse just to show you that you can do this if you're just starting off in Blender. Middle mouse wheel rolling in and out lets you zoom in and out of the scene. You have some visual up here. If let's go here, you can use this set of coordinates here to maneuver around the ball, but obviously you can't see it moving just yet because we've not done anything to it. Same as in Photoshop, you'll see there your brush size is going up and down with these square brackets. And what I would like you to do before we start, we're gonna create sort of the base shape of a monster, and for that to be like a face, an ugly face like the one you see here, we're gonna keep it symmetrical. So we just have to build one side of the face, and the other side will take care of itself. To do that, up here in the top right, you will see these symmetry tools with a little butterfly. Click X, and you will see that once you start doing something to one side, it happens on the other side as well. Control Z. So, over here on the left, there's... Have we got the same tools as last time? Different tools. There we go. How do we get you in there? Grab. Brush. Oh, I see. Okay. So all of your brushes are now in this menu at the top. So this has changed slightly from the version I've been using. So we're learning together. So what we're going to be using today are our brushes. And within these brushes, this little drop-down menu up at the top here appears to be all of the brushes that you can use. I don't know if you can see that, how well you can see all of that there. It zooms in a bit too much, but there's a load of different brushes here that we can look at. There's basically two that we're going to be focusing on today. The first one that we're going to use is grab, and that just grabs hold of and pulls the geometry of the sphere around. And then, as well as that, we're also going to use, well, you can choose between two. You can use draw, which is what we were just doing before when we made the little horn shape. But there's also this one here. So there's, let me see, there's draw there, which just sort of like draws squiggly shapes, smooth, flat shapes on the surface. But there's also this one over here, which is quite nice as well, which is called clay strips, which is also a drawing tool, but it kind of like, imagine a piece of clay in real life if you were to start placing clay strips over an item. It gives it more texture, which you can then smooth out, but then there's like the benefit of there already being texture in there. So you can use either, basically. So yeah, switching between grab and clay strips is what I'm going to be doing today. Making sure that your symmetry is on, we are going to start manipulating this sphere. And I'm going to start by sort of pulling out here on the top of his head and pulling it out, and then same with the chin and pulling down so that we have a sort of flat face on the front here to work with. Now, if you press the middle button down on your mouse, you can then start to look around the object, and that gives you an idea of sort of what's going on. And of course, if you want to pull something forward on the face, you kind of need to move to the side a bit, so you can grab the front of the face and pull it forward, if you see what I mean. So I'm going to keep on grabbing these, pulling these upwards to make some little horns, or at least the start of some little horns. And the front of this face in the middle, I want to start pulling out and upwards a little bit into sort of like a little... I'm going to try, I think, today, making sort of like a little bat creature. If you want to try and follow my moves and do exactly as I'm doing, great. But this is not an exact tutorial, more just showing you what the program can do. I've linked a channel in the description of this video of a guy who actually is a proper professional sculptor and really knows his stuff, really knows what he's doing, and is great at explaining how to do these things. I'd recommend, if you like what you see today in this stream, go and check out his videos and similar videos. People who are actual sculptors will have much more deep knowledge on this. This is just the way that I use the tool in my toolkit. I'm a master of Photoshop and Illustrator. That is my domain. All these other tools around, such as Blender, such as Daz Studio, After Effects, Clip Studio, Krita, other areas like that, they're fantastic tools and I use them all in my work, but I wouldn't consider myself a master of those. They're just part of my toolkit. I think it's important to have as wide a toolkit as you can, no matter what you're in. I mean, I'm a graphic artist, so I like to be able to create my base models that I use, and then I take them into Photoshop, and that's where I can really manipulate them and do what I need to do to them, because Photoshop is my true domain. But I think having a wide selection of tools you can pull from is wise and useful, because then, and anytime you ever come up against an obstacle, you always have something in your arsenal where you think, if a client is asking for something very particular, or if you have an incredibly specific idea in mind, then you know which of the tools you have at your disposal is best to do it. Same as a mechanic on a car needs to do a job. They have all their tools laid out and they know which one is best to tackle it. They don't necessarily use it all the time. They're not necessarily a guru on the welder or whatever, but if something needs welding, they can get it done. But then welding in itself is a specific profession as well. So if you need something complicated or want to learn welding, you would go to a specific welder. But if you can weld, then it's in a tool that's in your arsenal. Kind of, that's the idea of what I kind of mean. So I'm just pulling away at all different corners, making cornery shapes. He's got a knobbly head here. He's got some horns starting to fly off up to the side. He's got a little nose that's poking up here. He's got a sort of mouth area here. I think I need to give him more of like a actual like forehead. I feel like the nose is too far up his face. So you just, using the square brackets, you can make the tool bigger and smaller. Obviously, the bigger you make it, the more area of effect the grab will have. And you can see we've actually elongated the entire thing by having quite a big brush there. And now he's got more of an area where we can start carving in the brow and the eye sockets. The cool thing about making monsters is that you don't really have to pay a huge amount of attention to anatomy. When you're sculpting people, like, you can kind of like, it's the same as when you first start drawing, right? It's like you can kind of draw a person, but you get there and you're like, yeah, I've drawn a person, and you look at it and you're like, don't, I know it looks wrong, but I don't really know why it looks wrong. That's why you need to learn anatomy if you would like to illustrate or sculpt human figures, because it's easy to make them look wrong, and it's hard to make them look right. That is a profession in itself. So you can see the geometry here is starting to get a bit stretched. We're getting, we're starting to see the limit of the polygons here. It did look all smooth before, and now it's starting to look a bit polygony, for lack of a better word. That's good at this stage, as long as you don't go too overboard and stretch it out all over the place. One tip that I got from Speed Char, the guy who I've linked down below, is that you should push the geometry as far as you can before you step up in detail. There is a tool, so every time you start with the ball, which we had before, and you will manipulate that as far as you can until you start getting this kind of pixelation, and then once everything is quite pixelated, we can then step up in detail, smooth it all out, and then add more detail. But if you add more detail too early, the temptation is to get sucked into all of that detail that's available to you, and then all of a sudden you're like zoomed into the skull's eye socket, adding in all the huge detail when you haven't even really finished making the full jaw. Like there's bits that still need attention, and you're off doing something else, as can be. See, that's getting a bit too pulled in there. So I'm just gonna. I like this here, but I'm gonna leave the nostrils until we step up in detail, because it was getting a bit too pulled about. This chin I want to pull out and down, I think. Give him a strong jaw. Strong jaw for some strong teeth. Now you see the whole time here we've been using the grab tool. We're just taking the geometry that's already there and pulling it around, rather than adding loads of anything else yet, because we can, the more we can just keep pushing with the geometry that we already have here, the simpler it becomes down the line. Excuse me. Right, I'm going to try and pull just the mouth out and see if I can form some sort of lip shape. But again, here you can see the geometry is starting to get stretched, so we might need to step in detail before we start pulling that kind of thing. But you can see there the idea of this kind of like bat gremlin thing. It's coming together. Now, one cool thing you can do, if you want to add in some eyes to your character, which can be helpful later on for adding in more detail, is up at the top here. We're currently just got sculpting and shading, which is to do with the sculpt itself and the materials. If you click add and general, we can add the layout workspace to here, which will take us into a different work area, and you can see your sculpt as you would do as if it were in, well, it is in layout mode. What we can do in this area is we're in layout and we're in object mode. Up at the top here. So sorry, this is I was zoomed in. This is the new workspace that we've added, layout workspace. If you come up to the top here and click add, we can add a mesh and we can add a UV sphere. And that is currently inside our little guy here. If we come to our tools over the side here and click move, you'll see these arrows. The red will move it to the side, the blue moves it up, and the green moves it back. So if we just grab that red arrow and move it over to the side, you can see that we also have a sphere here. If you hit S, you can move your mouse up or down, and it increases or decreases the scale of the ball. Next to your character, decrease the sphere until you think it is roughly the size that the eyeball would be in your character. And then what you can do here, zoom into your character a bit. I think what we're going to do is, from the front, look at your character from the front and move the ball in to the character about to where the eye would be. And then we can lift it up about to where the eye would be. And then if we look from the side, we can grab the green one and push it forward. And you'll see that we have a little eyeball on our character here. Make it stick out a little bit further than you think it might need to, because what we're going to do is mold the character around it a bit later on. So maybe have it stick out a bit more than you think it should do. And here we have it just on the one side, don't we now? So our first little advanced bit of blendering is we're going to use a modifying property on this ball to kind of mirror it to the other side of our character. So down here, click on the little icon. It is what is it? Brain. It's a spanner. Just like me, I'm a spanner. And then here we have the add modifier button. You can click that, and in the search, click search and type mirror, and then click mirror. And then here you have your mirror property. In mirror object, click that and click quad sphere, because that quad sphere is the sphere that you originally manipulated when you started sculpting. Click quad sphere and you will see that your characters, because it takes the center of the sphere as the mirroring point, and now this, I'm pointing at the screen like you can see where I'm pointing. This eyeball is a mirror of that one. And then we have little eyes on a little character. He looks very surprised for the time being, but he'll look better once we've had a bit of a mess around with it. We're going to move back into our sculpting area, and we're going to ensure that we have quad sphere selected, because that's what we want to sculpt. And again, up here we have our brush, we have grab, but you can see that we've reached the limit, at least on the face, of our geometry. Well, how are we going to fix this? Right, we are going to come up to the top right, and here we see remesh. The voxel size, we basically want to make the pixels, give ourselves more pixels on the space. I'm going to go 0.01, click remesh. Has that done it? I don't know. It looks the same. Let's start drawing and seeing. Oh no, we're still sculpting the sphere. Right, I see. Okay, we selected the wrong thing. We had the original, we had the eye sphere. What we can do now is just go down in size on the pixels, and then we should give ourselves more to play with here when we start drawing. Well, it still looks the same again. My computer's firing up, which means it's remeshing again. Okay, something actually changed that time. So now it's remeshed, so once you start drawing, you'll see you have more. It still looks crazy because that's how it was, but you can see the detail in the brush there. What that means is the remesh was successful, and now we can start to smooth things out. So when you have a brush selected, what I've selected now is I'll just select draw for now. When you have a brush selected, any brush at all, you can click shift and it will begin to smooth out the geometry. Here you can see as I draw over that area, it's starting to smooth everything out a bit. I kind of like the wrinkles that it's leaving in there. That's quite funny. And we can sort of smooth things down a bit and start to put in more detail into our character. Now, so at this point, instead of pulling the geometry around with the grab brush, because we are drawing onto it, we're going to start actually adding material and detail on. What I want to do in these nostrils is what you can. So you can hold shift to smooth everything out, no matter what brush you have. And what you can also do is, you can see we draw there and it adds material. But what you can also do is hold control and it takes away. So we're going to make a smaller brush here, hold control with our draw brush selected, and start to carve away a nostril shape. So it's kind of like smoother on the entrance, but then it goes up into the inside of the nose. And if you just keep holding control and clicking on that back there, it'll just tunnel its way up. You don't have to go all the way inside like a real nostril, but far enough so that when you light it, it'll be very dark inside, and then we have some little nostrils there. That's pretty cool. I think again, I'm going to make a bigger brush and then hold shift and just smooth out the entrance to the nostrils there a little bit. But I quite like that. And then with a smaller brush, you can start just like adding in more detail where you want to. And the cool thing about like being a monster and not like a set thing is that like it kind of doesn't matter what you do at this point. It's like you can just do as you please, experiment, and I still think he needs more of a forehead. The eyes are like 75% up at the top of the head. I mean, I just said that doesn't matter, but it still looks off. So I'm gonna click grab, and with a big grab brush again, I'm gonna pull that up there. I will just have to go back to layout mode and shift his eyes back into the right place. And the cool thing about a monster is you don't have to stop at 2 eyes. You could make him a bat spider and give him 1,000,000 eyes. You can do what you like. That's the cool thing about all of this, is that once you get to grips with the basics of the tools, it's just a playground, and you can do absolutely anything you want with this. Let's go back to grab G. Grab is G. Top tip: the grab brush is G. Yeah, the menus are so crazy in Blender that it really pays. Like, I mean, it pays in any program that you use a lot to be very familiar with the hotkeys, but Blender is a tool, like, such an insane piece of software, like insanely detailed. Like, every menu has another 10 menus below it with other things you can click. So, like, if you know the shortcut for what you want, so the grab brush is G and the draw brush is nothing. D, draw, G and D. No, not sure what the draw brush shortcut is, but we will have, yeah, we've got draw for now. But G is the other one. You get, much like Photoshop, you can probably set these hotkeys for ones that you use a lot, I would imagine. And then, yeah, so just keep on working away using your brushes. Keep on using shift to smooth things out if you'd like to. Keep on adding more detail. Start with, like, bigger brushes for the detail, you know, like, put in the big chunky bits of detail sooner, and then go in with smaller brushes later and start adding, like, veins and fine detail things. Gosh, this is ugly. Perfect. Let's check G again and just start to try and give a bit of volume. Don't try to avoid what I've done here with the lips and make stuff too thin. Everything in the real world has volume to it. It should all have volume. If we had more time, we could start modeling in teeth and stuff, but that's pretty hardcore and in depth. One thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add another modifier to that sphere. So I'm going to go back to layout mode and click our eye sphere again. And I'm just going to add a smooth modifier. And is it smooth? It's not smooth. What is the name of that modifier? Subsurface. Subdivision surface. Basically adds in, you can see it's all pixelated right now on the eyes. And that will just add in a bunch of smoothing to it without actually adding in the geometry. Although my computer is, like, crashing out right now, which I'm assuming means something has gone wrong with that. We shall soon find out. Blender has crashed. I didn't save my work either. Fantastic. Oh no, we added it. It's okay. And now that we're back, I'm going to immediately save my work. We're going to call these Ugly Boy. Very ugly. Yeah, in the viewport. So down here, once you've added in the same places we did before with the mirroring, once you've added this one called subdivision, you can click these levels to see in the viewport, and you'll see on the eye here. If I zoom right in there, as I add the levels of subdivision, it should smooth it out. Although I'm worrying that I clicked remesh earlier on the wrong thing, and now that's why my computer freaked out. So I'm just going to quickly, I'm going to get rid of that, and I'm going to redo the eye quickly so that it's definitely correct. Not too much geometry in there. And then again, add the modifier, the mirror that we had before, the object is the quad sphere, so they're both there. Add another modifier, the subdivision. Yeah, see, it didn't freak out that time, so I think, yeah, and it's already applied it. So I think I did something wrong with that last eye. And we're just gonna turn up the levels of it so it looks nice and smooth, like an eyeball does. And then what we can do is go back into our sculpting panel in our quad sphere. And if we zoom in on this eye here, rather than just having it plonked in that space, what we can do is grab our draw brush and start building up actual eyelids around it. Two nice little eyelids there. So when you're sculpting, you make, like, obviously eyelids in real life are like super thin, but when you're sculpting so that like you can see them from a distance, you make them like super chunky and really obvious, just so that when it's rendered out, like you can see it. Even if you're building like a perfect representation of a human, it pays in the digital world to have big thick eyelids. Perhaps that is a desirable trait in some cultures. Thickened eyelids. And you can like go like super thin on your brush here and just like get some nice edging. Don't Google that on the eyelid there, and then smooth out that edge there. But as I said, this is just there you go. The eyes now like fit in there. They feel like part of it rather than just a big thing plonked in. As I said before, you could start adding in teeth. You could go to town on tiny details. You could start adding in. Turn the strength down, but add in, but not too down. Adding in veins across the surface, and as much as you want to, as far as you want to push it, basically. But yeah, we've made a little dude, and if we look at him from our camera, you can see that he is beautiful. There he is in our camera here. Let's see what he looks like in the actual render. Computer's freaking out. Again, I don't know if you can hear it in the camera, it just like sounds like an aircraft carrier all of a sudden. It's when you suddenly know you've done something wrong and you're like, something, I clicked the wrong button somewhere. There we go. And I guess here we have a little light bulb here. If we just move that sort of more like in front of his face. Oh, I'll tell you what we could do. We could do the classic, like lit from below. So it's like central on him. Make it like below the face. And then view from the camera. I mean, is all lit from below, all creepily, and you can mess with the settings on the light, make it super powerful. 1,000 watts. That seems like a bit much. But you know, you can light your character however you want to for your render. Place the light where you think it works. And at the top here is a render icon. And you can render your image. And then it pops out your image. You can save it as a PNG, stick it into Photoshop, start messing with it. And if it's not right, you can come back into the 3D program, relight it, and do it again. That's the cool thing about having made this yourself, being able to manipulate it any way you like. You can go back and do it again. And I think that's as deep as we're going to go today on Blender. As I said, if you like what you've seen today and want to go deeper into it, check out the link of the guy, Speedchar, that I've put in the description. He's fantastic. He's where I learned basically everything I know about sculpting in Blender, and he taught me quite a lot about anatomy as well. So for sculpting realistic people, like for when I did the Impurist cover, which is the one in the I'll change that to a different blend mode. There we go. Yeah, so obviously for that one I had to sculpt a fairly accurate representation of a person in the first instance, and then messed about with it from there, mucked about with it, added tentacles, painted it up. And that is just a more in-depth version of what we've just done, basically. That's just the same, but a little bit further down the pipeline, you know? It's not out of reach if you want to do it. And you can learn how by using the amazing resource that is the internet and YouTube specifically. The amount of knowledge that has been passed through people on YouTube is bonkers. And you should look into it and harness that power. add more tools to your toolkit. In this case, Blender. If you like the look of it, add it to your toolkit. Maybe one day in the future we will look at modeling as well, which is cool for if you want to make a sword or if you want to make a creepy castle and stuff like that. Yeah, we could take a look at that. For now, I think I'll love you and leave you. I will be back a similar time next week. Hope you have a good one. Like, subscribe, and all that jazz. Catch you next time. Cheers.